So I've got here in my hands the OnePlus 3.
The one.
I'm just trying to angle this correctly. As you can see, my first remark when I first saw this phone is, Tony, would you like to hold it?
Oh, sure.
Or would you like to be our hand model?
Okay, there you go.
Makes it easier for me to talk if somebody else does the handling.
There you go.
When I first saw this phone, I remarked, it looks like the love child of Apple and HTC. And pretty much everybody I said that to has agreed with me.
Yeah.
As you can see, the back looks a little HTC-ish with the antennas. And then you've got the sides, which look a little Apple-ish with the grill, the speaker grill right here, and the charging port, and also the little alert slider right here.
That's
explain the alert slider again.
The alert slider, it's for volume. So you switch it up and down, it goes from silent mode to loud mode.
They had in the OnePlus 2. I like
Yeah.
it.
You can customize it. This one's a little smaller than the one on the OnePlus 2. So the OnePlus 3 is, I have to say, one of the nicest phones I've held all year. And I'm comparing this to the GS7s and the G5 and even the 10. This is just such a really nice device. It's a really dang good deal for $400. You get Snapdragon 820, 6 gigs of RAM, which, guys, Snapchat did not crash on me at all.
That is key.
Wow.
It was,
For people like us.
it's kind of a
Bearing the
benchmark.
lead.
So I use this. I've learned that other OEMs use Snapchat as sort of a benchmark to see if their performance tweaking is on par, because Snapchat is
embarrassing, but
awful.
true. Yeah.
Because it's so awful.
Yes.
It constantly crashes on you.
Yes.
And it's so frustrating. You want to throw your phone at the wall. I did not throw the OnePlus 3 at the wall at all, because it was fine.
Good.
With the extra RAM. And I sort of likened it to kind of putting extra sticks of RAM into your PC and sort of having a little bit of that performance posterity. Maybe the GPU and everything isn't going to be, up to par in a couple of months, but at least you've got some extra memory, to kind of help tide you over. So
Give me your fingerprint.
yes.
All right.
So it's kind of nice to have that. It future-proofs a little bit.
Hopefully lasts longer than the 8-10 months you've had with the other phone.
So my Nexus 6P feels really antiquated compared to this guy.
Right.
I really feel like OnePlus has shown its maturity in this particular device launch.
I was gonna say OnePlus is all grown up now.
Yeah.
It looks like.
Except for expandable memory, they've answered a lot. The fast charging, much better camera, the fingerprint reader, and NFC now.
Yep.
I mean, what more? You could definitely ask for more, because there is a little bit of a bump with the camera. So you could say, well, if you're going to have a bigger camera module, add more battery. Sure, fine. But for what they've done, they did it really, really well.
It's one of the thinnest phones on the market right now. Of course, we're not counting in one of the next devices we'll get into, but this is 7.3 millimeters. It's like 7.3 and something, which makes it slightly thinner than the Nexus 6P, which also measures in at 7.3 millimeters. The 16 megapixel camera is great. It's got both optical image stabilization and electronic image stabilization, which is for video. It's got a manual mode, RAW support, pretty good low light for just having a typical, I feel like the aperture now for all the phones has got to be at least f2.0.
Is it not 1.8?
Well, I mean, just like the substandard needs to be 2.0,
yeah.
And if you want to go...
Is this 1.8?
It's 2.0.
It's 2.0.
It's 2.0.
Okay.
But I feel like the OIS really helps with the low light stuff, so I was not having too many issues with it without a smartphone tripod. The other thing we have to mention, you did mention fast charging. So the fast charging on this is proprietary. It's a dash charging.
It rhymes.
It's dash charging, and it has the chip inside of the adapter so that you don't have to worry about it throttling down the phone when it's charging. The bummer to that is that you will have to buy all of your chargers and your battery packs and your car chargers from OnePlus specifically. But you know what? Who cares? Because guess what? You can actually buy this phone without an invite.
For $399.
$400, and you get like all the latest flagship specs, plus a couple of extra bits of memory. And also, this 3,000 milliamp battery life lasted 8 hours in PC Mark, which is kind of awesome.
Wow.
That was longer than the GS7 Edge, and that had a 3,200 milliamp battery pack. It was bigger than 3,000.
It's bigger than 3,000. Now, The screen on this is 1080p. What do you think about that? Because everything else, it's
I
AMOLED.
don't need more than 1080p. I'm fine with the 1080p. And I like the dark mode that it's got on here, by the way. The little thing that makes it
Show
yellow.
everyone.
Makes it here. It's all yellow. And I know it looks weird to you, but when you look at this in the dark, this is
And your
awesome.
eyes adjust
and your
and
eyes are
everything.
adjusting.
Yeah.
It's great because when I'm looking at a full smartphone, it actually is literally keeping me
So
awake.
if I'm watching like Voltron on Netflix, is everything gonna be
It is going to be
yellow?
skewed. But guess what? You can go into the settings, and I know my password. You can get into the settings and change that as you like. There's so many customization options. So here you can adjust the color balance and how intense the night mode is. So if you don't want it that yellow, it's
Can you
fine.
put a timer on the night mode?
I did not look into that. It looks
Well, it
like
looks
not
like it's a
yet.
manual
Well,
switch.
there you go. OnePlus, a request from Jason
jeez.
Howell.
Jeez, you mean you don't have a timer on the night mode? Done. I can't recommend this phone.
How dare
It's
you?
not like apps can't do that already. That I use them all the time.
This also has a dual nano SIM slot, which is awesome if you travel a lot. I'm probably going to be popping another SIM into this when I go overseas later this year. And it doesn't have expandable memory, but it has 64 gigabytes right out of the gate. You can't buy anything else. And I got to be honest with you, I've been using the 6-piece this November with 64 gigs, and I'm barely at like 19 gigs right now, and I take a crap ton of photos. And I have a lot of Spotify playlists downloaded, so it's been enough for me.
Nice.
This is a really darn good phone. I gave it,
6 gigs of RAM. Like, is
6
this
gigs of
the
RAM.
first smartphone that we're seeing right now in the 6 gig territory? Like,
I believe so.
I'm trying to think if I've seen that
think so.
before. I feel like 4 has been the standard up until now.
I think I haven't seen. I can't recall seeing a 6 gig. But now that I think about it, is this the beginning of the trend?
Yes, probably.
Because honestly, more memory is the better. So if memory costs come down and they can get 6 or maybe even 8 gig in there, I would totally jump at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, with Android N and Daydream, I'm assuming the Google VR on Android is going to have to be optimized to be able to do all that graphical kind of processing. So 6 gigs of RAM would probably be a minimum requirement.
That's what I figured.
Will this be upgraded to N in a timely manner? Who knows? Because the OnePlus 2 hasn't even been upgraded to Marshmallow. So there was someone in the chat room that was asking, what about Android updates? That's going to be a question. This is very, in my opinion, very on par with a lot of the other flagship devices that are out there. Maybe even beats the Nexus 6P or any of the Nexus that are out right now. But you're still going to be on OnePlus's schedule to upgrade.
Yeah.
And
that's a big
yes.
counterpoint.
So I did speak to OP, and actually I have an interview going up with Carl Pei tomorrow, but we didn't talk about updates specifically in that interview. But when I did talk to him, he had said that they were working on their version of Android N. So at least that's kind of like, there's no solid like due date. They have no promises about when it's coming. But that was something that I looked at because I had originally written in my conclusion about, or in the software section, I had said, oh, and you don't have to worry about Android updates because this has the latest security update on it. So it has May because I got it before the June update came out. And so I was thinking, oh, you'll get all the security updates, it's fine. But I couldn't find any documentation or any blog post from OnePlus that promised to deliver on those monthly Android security updates. So I actually think that takes much more precedence than software updates at this point. To have those security updates.
Security updates are,
I feel like that
if
you're not going to be able to deliver on the software updates, then at least security updates, and we've seen like the other OEMs have committed to that.
Sure.
They've literally put out press releases about it. I could be wrong. There could be something out there I just couldn't Google. I just don't I don't have any particular memory about it. Regardless, for $400, this phone is pretty phenomenal. All right. I mean, that's how I feel about it.
And you don't have to wait to get it. That's I think
no
that's
invite.
No
The invites are
invites.
gone. You can use Android Pay on it. I did use Android Pay.
Can
at
you
the
use
grocery
Samsung
store.
Pay on it?
You cannot
you
use
cannot
Samsung
use
Pay.
Samsung Pay. It has OIS, right?
Because it has OIS. Yes.
I think I want to amend what I said earlier. Is that OnePlus is almost all grown up. I think that it's the no invites required and the price point, and that device looks great. I think just the point that Tony made about the OS updates as well as other little things here and there, it's not quite all grown up. but
Yeah.
OnePlus almost as grown up. It's
It
like it's
learned
a
how to tie
teenager.
its shoes.
It's
Finally
like-
learned how
it
to
just-
tie its shoes.
It just got its learner's permit, and it's got an after-school job that it can drive its car to. But other than that, it can't drive on nights or weekends.
And it still might get into a horrible accident. So be careful.
Yeah, exactly.
Be careful. We don't know what the future has in store
Are
for
you
this
allowed to
phone.
drive alone on a learner's permit?
Nope.
No.
I wasn't.
I was. Oh, I was.
Man,
If you-
things
if
were
you
so
had a
much
job-
better
Different
in your
time.
generation.
In New York State, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, if you had an after-school job, you could drive to school and then to the job and then home, but you had to be home before dark, which
you
I
had a
broke
curfew.
every
Interesting.
day. I broke all the time. So, but whatever.
Bring it
I
back.
didn't get pulled-